A Complete Unknown is a new music biopic based on Bob Dylan, directed by James Mangold, starring Timothy Chalamet as Bob Dylan. And essentially, this movie tells the story of Bob Dylan's rise to fame in folk music, and ultimately also surrounding his controversial decision to shift more into electronic music to blend with his folk music, how fans received it, how the people around him received it, and everything that went into his career because of it. This seemed like a movie that really could be something special. I mean, James Mangold has directed some really good movies. He's known for directing biopics, namely the music biopic Walk the Line surrounding Johnny Cash. And Timothy Chalamet, I mean, he's become one of those actors to look out for. He typically picks smart projects. He's a very good actor in what he does. This seemed like it could have been a perfect match. And yeah, I'll say this right out the gate, Timothy Chalamet as Bob Dylan, I thought he was great. I personally don't know much about Bob Dylan. I'm not the biggest Bob Dylan fan when it comes to music. I only know a couple of his songs. But he did feel like he immersed himself into that role. You know, Bob Dylan, he's this very reserved, quiet, content, loves playing music, but he was undeniably extremely talented at what he do. Great guitar player, very gifted singer, great songwriter. I feel like Timothy Chalamet totally honed into that. And what I also appreciate is Timothy Chalamet, I guess, learned to sing for this movie, but not just learn to sing like Bob Dylan. And I did find that interesting. When he was on stage and he was, you know, singing certain songs, performing certain songs, I would go back and I would listen to the actual songs that he did, and I was like, that sounds like Bob Dylan. So yeah, credit to Timothy Chalamet for going all in on this role. There's a lot of Oscar buzz surrounding it, and frankly, if he got nominated or even won, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But not just him, the entire cast across the board I thought did really good. Edward Norton plays, is it Pete Seeger? It was Pete Seeger. Again, I'm not really familiar with folk music. I don't really know who a lot of these people are. But I thought he was great in this movie too. He's the one who kind of discovers Bob Dylan, gets his foot in the door, serves as kind of a mentor to him. Just immediately took him in. He was a really good guy. It's the kind of musical influence that was perfect for Bob Dylan to follow behind. Or at least, you know, have his foot let in the door from. Also, Monica Barbaro, I thought she was great in this movie. Elle Fanning, I thought she was great in this movie. Both have some kind of romantic involvement with Bob Dylan in one sense or the other. Both have a very different and unique relationship with him. I like seeing both of their perspectives of him and what their life with him was like. Because one of them is an artist like Bob Dylan, so they clash over like creative differences and musical outlooks and everything like that. One is just kind of along for this ride. She's the girlfriend to a celebrity, and as a result, he has a life outside of her, and sometimes that doesn't always mesh. Made for a good dynamic on both sides. I respected the chemistry between all three of these characters in one sense or the other. And hell, even the other musical icons they've got in this movie, I thought they were great additions. I mean, hell, Johnny Cash, I don't know the name of the actor who played Johnny Cash, but he looked and felt exactly like Johnny Cash did. I do love, like, seeing what Bob Dylan went through when he was like, you know, people are telling me to play the same music again and again, but I'm an artist, I gotta create, I have to make things, I gotta do things that are different, I gotta explore who I am as an artist. And yeah, naturally when he starts going electronic with his music, people aren't really, you know, into that. People don't really like that. It doesn't feel like Bob Dylan, so the fans turn on him a little bit. I mean, we see that happen with so many music artists today. Some of them just, you know, want to try new things, want to try new genres, want to explore what they can do talent-wise. And when it's so different from what their fans are probably used to seeing them do, it, you know, it can turn them off in a type of way. I mean, some fans might respond warmly to it. Others might be like, yeah, fuck this. I'm not listening to you now. It's undeniably a risk that these artists take, and I like seeing that this movie explored on that. As far as some flaws that I have with this movie, I'm going to say the movie's around 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and it didn't always flow the best for me. Like, it definitely felt slow at the time. A lot of it is exploring on, you know, Bob Dylan and his life, you know, how he met the people that he met, how he got his foot in the door, how he was exploring and battling with different studios over what music he should play, what stuff he should write. I was hoping we could explore a little bit more on the music element in here. Like, for example, there's no, like, big concert, massive event, like at the end of Bohemian Rhapsody or something like that, so I didn't feel a whole lot of that payoff for me. So yeah, rather than it feeling like a slow burn, it just felt a little too slow for my liking. Also, as I mentioned before, I am not very familiar with Bob Dylan. I'm not a massive Bob Dylan fan, so as a result, his story and his music is not something that I was totally ready to learn about. I mean, I went into it, you know, open-minded and hoping to enjoy it and everything like that, and I did. but it didn't hit me as hard as it probably would other Bob Dylan fans. Like, just to give you some perspective, I saw this movie with my dad. My dad grew up in the era of Bob Dylan. My dad loves Bob Dylan. He knows everything about this guy. So he walked out of this movie absolutely fucking loving it. And I've heard word of mouth from other people who are big Bob Dylan fans and really love folk music. They absolutely adored this movie. So yeah, this is undeniably a movie that was made for fans of Bob Dylan. So if you're a fan of Bob Dylan and you love his music and you love his genre of music and what he has done for music, this will probably be the movie of the year for you. If you're like me though, and you're not as familiar with it, and you're a lot more loose with this kind of music, it's not gonna hit you as effectively as it would for others. So all in all, just speaking for myself, as I always do, I thought A Complete Unknown was a very solid movie. Performances across the board were excellent. Timothée Chalamet in particular was great. I think he deserves Oscar nomination. Even if he won, I think that's deserved. Is it deserved or deserved? It's probably deserved, but you knew what I meant. I enjoyed seeing him discovering his music. I enjoyed seeing him want to explore other genres or integrate other genres into his music, and how the studio's pushing back against him and fans are pushing back against him. Felt like how it is for a lot of musical artists in this world, and I appreciate that. It was a little too slow for my liking. I do wish there were certain story elements that hit me a little bit more, but granted, as someone who's not familiar with Bob Dylan, it just didn't. And in the end, while it's not the best music biopic I have ever seen in my life, it's definitely a solid entry into that franchise, if we want to consider it a group of movies. I'll say this much, definitely one of those Oscar buzz movies that I do believe is worthy of checking out. So that's all I'm going to say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video, and as always, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.